Who do you blame here?
I would blame it firstly on the players themselves.
Yeah.
Boycott those leagues, because those leagues needs them more than needs the leagues.
Of course.
They are good. Yeah.
He did enormous Samuel Eto'o.
Yeah.
But his teammates convinced him to go back and play. You see, that's the problem that I have. So, Victor Osimhen, the way you pronounce it, I like it.
Yeah.
I call just Victor. He's Nigerian, eh?
Yeah, he's a Nigerian.
Yes. So, what actually happened with Victor? Is it Napoli, ne?
Yeah, it's Napoli.
What happened with him? So, I believe he helped them for the first time to win the
league title.
Is it the La Liga? Is it what do they call it? Primera.
The Italian Serie A.
The Italian Serie A.
The Italian Serie A. He helped them to win it for the first time, I think, in 30 years.
In 30 years.
Yeah.
And you know, when I was investigating the story, what's funny is I actually realized that a lot of people were saying they started supporting Napoli because of Victor.
Yeah, the African.
Yes, I mean, a lot of people were saying, we don't know, Napoli is just a fluke team. So it happened in England, I think. What was that team that came out of nowhere to win?
Oh, Leicester City.
Leicester City.
Yeah, Leicester City.
It's just a fluke of history. Someone just comes and wins. In South Africa, it happened as well.
Yeah.
Was it Men in Rangers era or is it Men in Rangers?
Yeah, Men in Rangers did it in 96.
Yes, I mean, they had that just a few
edition.
fluke era where the big teams were sleeping and then they went on, they win, and I think they did it a few times. But so here's the case. So Victor, as big as he is, he comes into the season, he gets a penalty. He misses it.
Yeah.
Well, and it's all said, because he's expected to score a penalty.
Superstar like him.
Messi misses, Ronaldo misses, all big players misses.
It happens to the best of them.
Yes, but the problem is Simorafi. I want to apologize to you guys. That word that we want to use, that R word, we don't want to use it so much because the algorithm of this platform doesn't promote our stuff because we are using that R word. But because of that R word, the admin, the social media admin for TikTok, made a video. We'll find it. We'll just play it here where he says, "Please give me penalty, give me penalty." When he gives me penalty, they call him a coconut. I don't know what coconut means because in South Africa, coconut is someone who pretends to be something he's not. So there they did it, and that guy was not happy.
Yeah, and it really got a lot of African supporters unhappy too.
Count me there as well.
Or you were also unhappy?
Yes, I'm very furious. In fact, I think he let it slide too easy, because to me he should immediately take them to court and not even go to practice. But he's continuing to go to practice. I think as we record this, it's a week old now, because that's the previous weekend where that happened.
Yeah.
And I feel, he's cozy with. No, sometimes this story is very confusing because he's now cozy with the coach and not with the players, and he did not greet other players when he came on. I don't understand how this story goes. What did you pick up here?
I think it was out of frustration because these things happen to the best of our African players.
Who do you blame here?
I would blame it firstly on the players themselves.
Yes.
But not that they are letting it happen to them.
Okay.
For failure to act after it happens to them, because these things you don't plan, you don't really know when it's gonna happen.
Yes.
But when it does happen, it's now up to you to decide what do you do, how do you react, depending on how it makes you feel. But obviously, from Victor's case, he was not happy, and even if it was myself, I wasn't gonna be happy also.
Sure.
Because
that's. But what would you do?
Well, because I'm brutal, I would just walk away.
Okay.
I would just walk away because there's a very thin line between being tolerant
Yeah.
to a bad behavior.
Yes.
It could be from your colleagues, in this case, his teammates or the supporters, the fans, or whoever who's involved in the game. Ne? But I would, the way it happened so frequent, you know, when an injury to one is an injury to all.
Sure.
Sometimes these things happen to other players before.
Yes.
And I think Victor is smart enough to know that this has been happening to
For
other
a long
fellow
time.
African players. And we mustn't shy away from mentioning it, that this happens mostly to African players or
yes.
players with African descent.
Yes.
Because I remember this other one, the English players.
Yes.
Rashford and who's this other young man who's playing for Arsenal? Saka.
Yes.
Bukayo Saka. It happened to them the other time. They missed penalties in the national team, and
Yes.
then it was a big fuss
Yes.
to the
Always
followers.
happens to the English,
But
English media is
you've
very
got
brutal.
you've got players who Harry Maguire. They are doing stuff we've never seen.
Yes.
But very little happens to them.
Sure.
But you get a reaction when these mistakes are being committed by African players or players with African descent.
Two things that you said when we leave this. So you said, number one, because he planned it, you'd see we'll state the case where Neymar and Dani Alves ate the banana that was
Yeah,
thrown
to them.
as a mukari. I was told that actually Neymar and Dani Alves agreed that once they throw that thing, we're gonna pick it up and eat it. Because if you look at the footage, Dani Alves didn't think when they threw that thing. He picked it up, he ate it, he played like nothing was happening, and the momentum and the campaign started following afterwards. And you spoke again about the money and how if you are not happy about it, you know, David Kau, one of the pioneers of stand-up comedy in South Africa, he was on the podcast recently, just last week. You know what, he said something very profound and I didn't understand him. He spoke about money that you are given but you are not happy, it makes you feel filthy. He's a stand-up comedian. He would say sometimes they will be called up to a gig. They'll be called up to a gig, he will sit there, he will and maybe people are eating there, no one is paying attention to him. You know, he says even if when you don't enjoy that money because it doesn't come from you know, you just worked because you needed to work.
You were just doing it for the sake of doing it.
He said it and I felt it. I felt what Nas said when he went to meet Tommy Hilfiger. Tommy Hilfiger is the fashion mogul. When Nas met him, the guy said, he was front of someone, say, so you're a rapper, sing rap for us.
You can imagine that.
No, I need you. Why can't Nas say, oh, so you sew dresses, please design a dress for me?
Now
it's typically that. I mean, you get the money, but it makes you feel dirty afterwards. You don't want to do any of it. But let's go. Let's read out these incidences. Ne? Do we agree? Let's read out these incidences, and then we see how far we go. But let's say number one. Okay. So Thierry Henry was playing a corner kick, and he was being spat on at the corner kick by the fans, and he played right wing he played left wing with a right leg, right? Left wing with a right leg. So, and the supporters kept, and he took his shirt to the referee to say, look at what they are doing, I can't play. The referee said to me, dismissed him, say no, just continue playing. So he dismissed him, and I felt that was painful, and that was during Henry's era. He went to Greece, they did the same, and they would do monkey chants at him and stuff. And you can imagine if it started at that era of Thierry Henry, you could imagine how difficult it is. And this, of course, comes back to the Dani Alves and where they started eating the bananas. What do you think went wrong here? Because I want us to do, that's number one, Thierry Henry's incidences. What do you think he should have done? You know, in that incident, Thierry Henry, the referee was complicit in committing the offense of the thing that we are talking about. Because you cannot dismiss something where there's a clear evidence of that something wrong happened here, and then you are saying, you're just dismissing it like that and saying, no, let's continue. It's, you know, it's easy, Mkoni, sometimes
as someone who's not directly affected.
Yes.
To just say, no, let's forget about it. Let's move on. It's like
I agree
the
with you.
time that
Yes.
we come from
Yes.
in South Africa,
Yes.
during those older days.
Yes.
Where people now just say, no, man, forget about those
Yes.
times, man.
Because
we are
it
here
wasn't
now.
hitting them.
Yeah, but
you'll see what you are saying about. You'll see in this a lot of teammates wanted people to understand like that.
Yeah.
So we're going back to the biggest one. This is my favorite, in fact. So there were in Spain, of which is, I think, to me the second most racist football club in Europe. So Claude Makelele and Florentino Perez. So Perez assembled a team of big players. They called it the Galactico era at Real Madrid. I mean, everyone marveled at that. So we marveled at that. A lot of people would appreciate that era. So around 2002, 1 towards 3. But in 2003, he verbally agreed with Claude Makelele, who is, according to me, still the best defensive midfielder of all time.
His peers appreciated his skills
in the history of defensive midfield. So unfortunately, you can't go to a midfielder. You know, if they were going to a midfielder, he would have been
you
one.
Can, I believe you can, but
but you know what he did with Claude? He promised him to increase his money. I think about 35%. I don't know. If I get it, I'll show it here. He promised to increase him, but it was a verbal agreement.
Yes.
But what Florentina didn't realize is, because he promised him, he has to honor it.
That promise,
because he was the best player at the time. I think it was Del Bosque, the old man with
Del Bosque.
Del Bosque was coaching them, I think. So he said, man, you must keep this guy because we need him. But he didn't. He just thought he's just an African player. What can he do? Let me tell you, it was the era of Zidane in his prime, Figo in his prime. You will see the squad. We'll show you the squad.
The crop of the cream.
Yeah, the crop of the cream. But he eventually left because Florentino opted to go and buy Beckham for headlines and did not pay this guy. You know what was karma there? They spent 4 years and 7 coaches later without winning a single trophy. After Claude Makelele left Madrid, he went to Chelsea to go and play his trade there.
Okay, you know, Nemkuni, in the incident that you are referring to now, you will realize that this whole racism thing in this top European leagues, it's somehow it's organized. You know, it's so superbly orchestrated in such a way that
I will do anything because someone will defend me.
Yes, it doesn't. It's so well orchestrated that it doesn't appear as bad as it is. You know, they're not really showing you the real thing. You know, just to go back to Victor Osimhen.
Yes,
the guy went on to even remove pictures on his social media pages. To
disassociate himself with the brand.
Disassociate himself to the brand Napoli. This shows you how badly hurt the guy is.
Yes.
But they're still trying to downplay it. And they pretend as if people can see. The reality is that if there are I've got a group of people to blame here for this.
Yes. You pack it at the end. You'll elaborate on that. I'm going to number 3.
Okay.
In 2019, Mario Balotelli, the most
why
famous.
Why always me?
Mario Balotelli? So he plays in Turin, I think. He's still playing for Brescia. I can't pronounce those.
Those Italian.
Yes, the Italian clubs. So, but then what happens with Mario? So he gets chanted on with those things. And then he gets angry. He takes the ball, he kicks it back into the crowd out of anger, and then he takes off shit. He wants to leave. He wants nothing to do with this. His teammates corner him. They tell him, no, it's wrong. These teammates tell the ref, stop this game because this guy is not on enough. So, and the game stopped for almost like 4.5 minutes or something while they tried to figure this out. You know what was the funny thing? The funny thing is, well, they resumed the game because he was out of sorts. He was already losing, but he scored a blinder. He scored a blinder just to go 2-1, but it was already water under the bridge because they already lost. But here's the thing. The coach at the press conference, sitting like you and me, he said Mario exaggerated that those things were not those were not our chance. His teammates said no. No, even the match official, there was a monitor somewhere from those leagues who said, no, indeed, that it happened to Mario.
It was captured.
Yes. So you can understand.
They still refuse.
Mchana.
That is why Kerem Godine, this thing, it's organized.
Yes.
It's like organized crime.
Yeah.
And we know the crime we are talking about here.
Yeah, so it's the R.
The reason I'm saying I've got a group of people to blame in this, the referees, the coaches, and I'm talking people of European descent.
Yes.
Because they know that this thing has been institutionalized in their countries to say this is how we will treat them. Even if they are so good, these Africans will make sure that we unsettle them so that they don't want Africans to break records, because they only want records to be broken by their own European players.
So our African brothers play double the
they have to double the effort in terms of being better to their colleagues. But the reality is, this group of people that I'm saying I put the blame on them includes the representatives of these players.
Yes.
You know, they don't call them managers. What do they call them? The agents. Yeah, football agents. You know, like I said before, Mkonine, we can be at the same level in terms of profession.
Yes.
The quality of what we do, in this case being playing football, we may be skillful, and then, but how we interpret the money, it's something else. Because how I will react to when somebody offends me with racism and then come back and gives me money, or not necessarily coming back to give me money as a bribe, but downplaying it, and myself alone, I'm saying, the team is paying me so well that if I walk out and terminate my contract, it's going to affect my career.
Yes.
There's a lot at stake. Yeah. So these players are afraid. And these agents are not advising these guys rightfully to say there is 1, 2, 3 that you should never take as a player, an African player playing in these leagues, which we know that they are very bad.
Thank you very much. So I want to walk straight with all these numbers. 2023 is this year.
Okay.
Romelu Lukaku scores a penalty.
Yes.
He's in Italy. He does his normal salute, and he does this every time.
Yeah.
The referee thinks he's being provocative. He gives him a yellow card. After giving him a yellow card, is a double
yellow, and then red, it's a walk.
And then it's a walk. I mean, he's punished for being a victim.
Yeah, of the crime.
And he thinks it's easy. The FA punishes him further. They say that suspension stands. I don't know what happened, but
it was
eventually removed.
Yeah, later over 10.
Yeah, so let me do this. Let me read through all of them. Ne?
Okay.
Patrice Evra, the French guy.
Yeah.
He plays with Sores. I hate Sores. For many reasons.
For what he did
in 2010 World Cup against the Ghanaians. But he's just a mean, bad person. Honestly. Yeah. And him coming from South America, it makes it worse. Yeah. You'll understand. One day when we have time, we'll talk about the R in Uruguay, Brazil, and Argentina. Those guys are very R. Yeah. So what Patrick Evra says, he says to Suarez says to Evra, he's a Negro while they were fighting, and he insults him, says he's a Negro, he doesn't care, blah blah blah. But then when they ask him, he says, no, but where I come from in Uruguay, this is not offensive. He's hit with a penalty after up and down. He's punished for 8 matches and £40,000. And you would think this issue is settled. Yeah. The most famous video is he comes to him. He wants to use Suarez.
I want to shake your hand.
And then he doesn't shake his hand. Evra holds him. And
I was like, the victim is actually pleading for reconciliation in this whole situation.
And I think, look, man, Evra, no, don't do this. I mean, I do not understand. Let me give an example, in fact, but let me rather give it at the end, because I want to explain why I don't sing the South African national anthem in full, and I don't sing other anthems in full. John Terry. So John Terry, captain of England football club, no, England nation.
Yeah.
He says to his teammate's brother, Anton Ferdinand, the brother of Rio.
Yeah.
He says to him the N word, whether it's the N word or the what word, but it was a racial slur.
Racial slur.
It was back in 2011, but you know his teammate. It was Chelsea versus QPR. So his teammate. Rio Ferdinand, I don't know how it caught him. I don't want to investigate, but it's one of those incidences where it went to court.
Yeah.
And the Ferdinand won that case in court. You understand? Because
Yeah.
he could have just said yes, almost like Suarez. He could have just said yes.
Yeah.
This
And
matter doesn't need to drag.
Yeah.
It could have ended very quickly.
Settled outside.
But like the others, let's not discuss the merits now. Let's go to no mass. So no mass for me, it draws from boxing. So in boxing, in the 80s, during the height of Roberto Duran and Sugar Ray Leonard, in their third bout, they fought 3 times. In the third bout, they call it the no mass bout.
Yeah.
So in the match, it got so heated that Roberto Durant walked off. Sort of, it's a walk off.
Yeah.
Because he faced the referee and said no mass.
Yeah.
It meant that no more.
Yeah.
It happened again to Samuel Eto'o.
Yeah, Samuel Eto'o.
When he was playing in Spain. He said no mass. I don't want to do anything with this anymore.
Yeah.
But let me tell you what disappointed me. Although yes, he said no mass.
Yeah.
He went back to fight. He went back into to
the field.
So the original no mass happened in 1980.
Yeah.
Yeah, in 1980 within Sugar Ray Leonard. But he had an opportunity to do a no mass.
Yeah.
He did a no mass, Samuel Eto'o.
Yeah.
But his teammates convinced him to go back and play. You see, that's the problem that I have.
Yeah, you know Mkonine, in that incident, Eto'o, ne?
Yes.
He had if I might put it that way.
Yeah, but it looks like a threat now.
Yeah, like he had to choose between
Bread.
Yeah, and being there and isolated. It was potentially it was gonna have consequences had he walked away.
Yes.
Or what? So somehow something might have got into his mind and said, look, you have a contract and these people are paying you to honor this contract. So you've got an obligation to stay in the field and play, and then maybe you, as they say, comply and complain.
We'll talk about that later because I've got a story of the Chicago Bulls, but I don't want to state it here. It deserves a whole new podcast by itself.
Okay.
I'll tell you about the story about the Chicago Bulls who refused everything. He even had his career having died. He played for the Chicago Bulls. But so let's talk about Atkinson. So Atkinson is he's a stupid racist match commentator. So what he does is this incident happened also in cricket, by the way, where R is very big in cricket. So he thinks the mic is off. The mic is on, it's still recording. He says to Marshall Desali after a poor game he played, he says he's a chubby, lazy Negro.
Yes.
And they picked it up in the mics and stuff. You know, they will investigate. But they eventually got rid of him. But after this, they actually realized that this is not the first time he has done it, because he has done it in 1989.
Yeah.
Yes, or people started coming up with those. You know these things. Whenever Jub makes a story, other people come in. Well, hey, let me man. So this is the guy that I love. So Boateng had the similar incident to Mario Balotelli, where he was playing. He couldn't take this noise coming from the spectators.
Yeah.
He took the ball, he kicked it to the spectators. His didn't reach as far. He was very angry. He was trying to do a Mario Balotelli a kick. But what he did, and it was a friendly, I think, off-season game.
Yeah,
so he took off his stuff, no mask, and then he left.
Yeah.
So it was in Germany. What I love about this, his teammates joined him.
Yeah.
So they walked off.
Yeah.
That was what I love about this. In Portugal, Musa, in 2020, by the way, Musa did the same. He didn't like what they were doing to him, so he scored a goal. After scoring a goal, he showed them his hand in protest to
Yeah.
say it's an African man who scored this.
Yeah.
What does the referee do? Gave him a yellow card. And the referee shows the spectators that this guy is wrong.
Yeah.
What did the fans do? They made it even worse. They threw him with a chair.
Yeah. Imagine.
Imagine, they threw him with a chair. And, well, the poor guy, he couldn't take it because it escalates. This thing, if you bottle, it escalates, and he busted. He walked off and this teammate started saying, yeah, but Mfetu, let's talk. He said, nah. He walked off.
Yeah, you know, Mkoni, when you try to ignore something as obvious as
let me finish. Just remember it because I'm left with about 2.
Okay.
So, Vini Jr. Vini is the latest one. It's so sad. Yeah, Vini. So Vini says he will fight this R, even if it means his career will end because of it. So he's willing to sacrifice himself.
Yeah.
Come to think of it, Vini is the top African player of African descent who's playing top football as we speak, and he said he's willing to let go of everything.
Yeah.
And he's not going to be afraid to do this. He pointed out a fan who was racializing him in the stands, and they dealt with him. But this angered those Spaniards. The Spaniards didn't like him.
Yeah.
And of course, it's unfortunate that in that game, Vini was given his first red card ever. But what is said, I'll show him here. An effigy of him being hung on the bridge, similar to what the KKK do in America,
States, yeah.
in the United States. Whenever there's an African player who does something wrong, they went against him, and they said, but it's I don't know if the prosecution, how far it went, but I think 4 guys were found and they are taken to task. Knowing the Spanish government, I don't think anything will happen to them. If it had happened, please assist us in the comments, because most of these are your fellow countrymen. You would know, you would have followed up the cases easier than I did. So that's the 11th one. So I want to say this before we come back. I want to find the Portia Modise when she explains. So Portia Modise is the best South African player of all time. She's a female. She's the only player who has more than 100 goals in wearing the national team in South Africa. So no one has. It would be ridiculous to even check what Dr. Khumalo has. So
let's not
even go there. So Portia Modise has had it very tough when she tried to play abroad. So I want you to understand that this R is so fierce that even our female sports stars, they receive it as well.
Yeah.
Besides the fact that like your Yuriale Dwabas were forcing her not to act what she wanted to feel.
Yeah.
Yuriale Dwaba wanted her to be something else, to be feminine, and she didn't want. But let's not get to that topic. But so here are the cases that we have showed. I believe, Mukoni, number 1, I believe African players must gather themselves, and they must actually start with administrators. The administrators in African football are so dodgy. They will even get you here. I mean, these guys are working with politicians. Politicians know, and they've articulated why they hate Morocco as a football team. Hakimi. Yeah. Remember, recently Morocco said they are not Africans.
Yeah, they don't. In the World Cup.
Yes, they say they are not Africans. Morocco, they say they are not Africans because I think about 14 or 23 kilometers away from Spain. Yeah, so through the Rock of Gibraltar, these guys could just good swimmers. They could just swim from Europe to
another country
to another continent in Africa. But business it may. So Morocco has colonized Western Sahara. It's a country that is not given its own sovereignty because Morocco feel, we are the bosses of these people.
Yeah.
These people are more darker than we are, so we are senior to them.
Yeah,
this is consistent with everything in North Africa. We have been under the sword. These guys are putting us under the sword. You don't want to even go there. So, and by the way, when you hear people speaking about Sub-Saharan Africa, they're actually speaking about Africans with African descent.
Yeah.
Yes, they call us sub-Saharan Africans. But being it as it may, I blame all of these people. I blame them because, let me give you an example. Chika Onyani in Capitalist Nigger, he says, and it happened recently now with France and Niger and stuff, when they banned, the French banned their flights or something. So in Nigeria, they said no longer fly to Spain. Nigerian Airways must no longer fly to Britain in London. Could be wrong, but find it on Chika Onyani's book. And well, the British Airways started suffering money because of that. So they said, we are resuscitating the line. We want now to fly back. We are granting you an opportunity to fly back to. The Nigerians said no. They said no, because remember, Mkoni, you are taking financial loss, even yourself. You are also taking financial loss.
You're suffering from the decisions you are making.
So there's no sacrifice without suffering. So that's why I think African players must just blacklist certain league and have a union that says the European leagues are racist. But this one, Spain and Italy, we must not go and play there until they honor 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But you can speak.
Okay. I agree fully with you, Mkoni. They must do away with certain leagues.
Yes.
But here's the challenge. Like I said previously, different people interpret the same facts differently.
Of course.
You know, how I would look at 100,000, I'm just making an example, and how you would look at 100,000 may be the same.
Yes.
May be different, in fact. So, these players, the problem they are facing as African players is because, one, they are not organized. There's no union that represents African players when they are playing their football in those areas.
Because they don't want it, they just want it.
Yes. They rely on these people called agents.
Yes.
And well, partly agents, sometimes they do well, but on this aspect, they are failing players completely. There are completely useless agents. Some players, if they would actually listen to me, they would just have to play their football without having an agent.
Remember, the saddest thing is these African players, they are not businessmen. They are gladiators. They are thrown into the arena where people sit and watch them play. As a simple example is, and I will let you come and finish. So in the NBA, the arenas are filled by few rich Africans and mostly white Europeans who fill the arenas where these guys play. But the majority of the people who are playing on the ground are Africans. African football, baseball, and because they are paid to perform and entertain. They are not businessmen. They don't want to be treated. These guys don't want to work like a businessman. They must have cartels. Because they are billionaires. They don't want to be cartels. Michael Jordan has fallen victim to that. LeBron James has fallen victim to that because they only think about themselves. They don't want to think as a collective.
The bigger picture.
Yes, they are selling a trade, $1 billion trade, but they don't want to think like that because they are individualizing their struggles. So continue.
I agree with you on that, to say that the fact that they are not organized in the way that they are approaching this problem, it will take us as Africans another maybe 100 years, Mukoni, to get this right. Unless something drastically happens. Africans, players who are playing their trade in European leagues, specifically racist European leagues, because not every league in Europe is racist, but we've seen this thing raising its ugly head time and again in the same leagues. So they must come together and boycott those leagues, because those leagues needs them more than they need the leagues.
Of course.
They are good at what they do.
Of course.
They are very excellent sportsmen, but they somehow looking at the problem, individualizing it. They make it their own problem. So the people who should assist is the agent. But these are maybe standing at the top of my list. I've got the associations. So meaning the people who are running these leagues.
So this is where you and I differ. I agree with you on the people who are letting this continue. Is those agents and the soccer administrators and and the players as well.
Yeah.
But who is responsible for doing this is the players themselves.
Yes,
because for example, these guys can organize themselves. These guys meet in off season in their countries.
Yeah.
They meet. Samuel Eto'o, after playing football, he went on to be the president of
the
his
Cameroonian
administration.
Football Association.
Why can't he call all his players to say, guys, is Cameroon, right?
Yeah, it's Cameroon.
All Cameroonian players playing in Europe.
Yeah.
This is what you must go through. Call all your agents. If your agent does not want this, don't play with him. It's simple. It's doable. These guys are just cowards. African players are just cowards. There's no challenge here.
The challenge is there, Mukuni. Let me show you where the challenge is. Remember, these players, prior to playing in those leagues, they have signed contracts.
You don't understand. When you leave a contract, you go into another contract.
Yeah.
You say, send me the contract. I'll look at it. Let me give an example. Do you think Mbappe?
Yeah, Kylian.
Do you think Mbappe must still negotiate a contract? Do you think you could call Mbappe for fitness test, but you can't call him for trials?
Yeah, that's
yes.
Right.
You
that's
understand?
Right.
So why would you want a contract that doesn't suit Mbappe? If they don't want him, I mean, you can go and play in the Arabian League. You can go and play in the USA, because you are not going to find those records broken by Messi and Ronaldo. Why should these African players start begging whenever, even they are in a position of power, but they keep begging? I blame them.
For as long as Hosina that organized a structure that says, should you maybe take this stand, we will back you up, we will support you, we will be behind you as an African player.
Yes.
Players are still seeing themselves as individuals who have to honor their contracts. But I'm saying that contract on its own, it cannot be used as an excuse not to act against this thing. They must still act, but I'm just showing you the challenge that they themselves are dealing with as individual players, to say, and even how they are treated, these players in different clubs. They may be, we watch them on television doing well, and we think the level in Narbarita Guyana, it's the same level that their teammates and their bosses in the teams rate them, and it's not.
Yeah,
so,
but it's fine. All I'm saying is, having felt it at international level, Samuel Eto'o knows everything about it.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah.
Can you imagine if he founds an academy that protects these players, francophone players, whatever it is? He championed, because a lot of people have been saying this African administration must be led by people who have at least played soccer at the professional level. And then Samuel Eto'o gets it. I'm disappointed with what he does. But in closing, 30 seconds, Motsepe and his CAF are giving Morocco support to have the FIFA World Cup in 2030. Please tell me what you feel about that.
For the same fact, actually the topic that we are having here, the letter R, the Moroccans are guilty as charged.
Yes. Sure.
On this. If I was Patrice, I wouldn't support Morocco.
Sure.
And for a mere simple reason that their posture in terms of the subject, it's not a good one. It has never been.
The love of money.
Yes, and then they've got a history. We're not just saying, they've got a history of posturing otherwise.
Yes.
Even when we were supporting them in the previous World Cup.
Yes.
They were dilly-dallying around.
They've always been doing
the support that we were pledging to them.
Yes.
So they acted like, no, so Morocco, actually, now I'm not supporting Morocco. So if I was Patrice as the president, I was going to look at another country that we can support. Maybe even if it means we should support Zimbabwe.
10 seconds. I believe Victor must leave immediately. What do you think he must do? 10 seconds.
Not until he's got a proper organized structure to say, if I leave, I know these people will be